Hey, welcome back to TuckerAllen Live right here on Facebook. And it's again 1 o'clock Central Time. That means we're live with one of the attorneys at TuckerAllen who continues to join us. Kevin, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me today, Scott.
Yeah, so we were just talking offline just briefly. An unusual topic, obviously, today, which is prepaid funeral plans. I see that a lot. I see advertisements for it. I've even seen TV commercials. I hear about it. And honestly, I've never heard positives about it. I've only heard negatives. And sometimes I've seen lawsuits. I've heard people go to jail for it, fraud. And I thought that a really interesting topic to talk about because not many people want to talk about it. And a lot of people are convinced to do it. I think an older generation certainly did it. I remember my grandmother was all about prepaid funeral. She, in her mind, it was, hey, let me relieve that stress and let's just take care of it. So let's just start with a general question or two, really. What is the general cost? And I guess why would you do the prepaid funeral plan? And then we'll talk about the pitfalls.
Sure. So the average cost, it's a wide range, but I would say generally it's somewhere between like $7,000 to $10,000. Certainly cheaper, certainly more expensive, but I think that's kind of right there in the middle of generally what it is. And, I think the rationale, like you were saying, for most people is just that they want to relieve that stress from their loved ones. So they think, okay, this is a good plan. Like you're saying, they see advertisements and everything looks good. And, they think that they're doing something good. Like, hey, I'm really helping out my family here. And unfortunately, it doesn't always turn out that way.
I kind of think, and I've never done it. I've never bought the insurance when you buy like a trip or an airplane ticket. I've never bought that. And I've always been suspect because, what do you really get? In fact, the other day I was reading, there was someone who is very sick with COVID internationally, and she bought the insurance. But what she didn't read was, and she was thinking, I'm buying it because I want to be medevaced out of this country in the US. They won't pay for it because there's a cap on the spend, and the medevac wants to charge like $20,000 and they won't pay more than $1,000 or something crazy. So I guess that's the thing, is it's in the fine print and the details where this prepaid plan may not, or what you pay may not pay out in benefits. Is that what you're commonly seeing?
Yeah. So, the fine print there can be very tricky because there's a lot of questions you have to ask to kind of deduce what's going on. So the fine print can kind of throw you, with a lot of things in life, you get sold one thing and you start looking into the fine print. And once you do that, it starts to look more and more suspect, I guess. So yeah, that's a big part of it. And, the rationale behind this from the funeral home side of things is, if we can get somebody, that pays, let's say they pay $7,000 for their funeral and they're 50 years old or 55 years old or even 60 years old or whatever their age is, then that's free money for them that they can go and they can put into an annuity or into a mutual fund or whatever. I don't know what they're doing. And the fine print is going to tell you what they're doing, but they're going to take your money and then they're going to make money off of your money until you pass away. So that's why it works for them, is they're not just sitting on your money for the next 20 years while you go out and live your life. They're making money off of your money. And, I think my point of view and a lot of other people's point of view is, what, if somebody's going to be making money off of your money, you might as well be the one to make money off of your money. And I know that on our website, we have a little bit of stuff about this, but, a good way to do it is to say, hey, if I think $7,000 is going to be the price that it takes here, let's go ahead and set up a bank account. Let's put $7,000 in there, or buy an annuity or whatever it may be. Let's go ahead and do that and set it aside. And then we can make it transferable on death or payable on death, like we've talked about before, to one of your family members. And then they can, whenever you pass, all that they have to do is produce that death certificate. And they can now have access to those funds, and you let them know, this is what I want. And they can go take care of that for you. So that's really, I think, oftentimes a better option.
Yeah, it's not to say that these prepaid plans are all bad. I think it's about caution, and like anything, it's ask questions, investigate, research, and make a good informed decision. But, as you were talking about putting money or they're sitting on your money and investing it and making a good return. I mean, think about it. If you're young or 50s, you live 30 more years. Imagine what that 7,000 would have turned into in a
Right.
normal, I mean, money doubles every 7 years. I mean, think about that. The amount of money you could have accumulated. There's a guy, I think his name's Grant Cardone or something like that. And he says, if money's in your bank account, you're doing something wrong. It should be working for you rather than sitting in someone else's account or in some, I tend to get that. It's not like, I know I've had family members buy a burial plot. That's maybe different
Yes.
than, because now, I mean, it's going to cost something. Maybe they want to be near their family members, whatever it is. But I guess then the question becomes when I preface this by saying, I've seen these businesses go out of business and you lose everything. And I mean, I guess
Right.
that's one of the caution and pitfalls is this business more than anything that I always comes to mind because it catches my ear is some of them go out and you've got nothing. You've lost all your money, right?
Absolutely. And that's one of those things that, like, we had kind of wrapping around to that fine print that we were talking about earlier. That fine print should say someone that what does happen if this, if this business goes out of business, then where is the money going? Does it come back to us? Does it stay with them? And it's probably not going to be coming back to you. If the business has gone out of business, you're probably not getting your money back. So it's just, those are all questions to ask. They might say, sure, you'll get your money back, but it's like if something has gone out of business, there's probably not a lot of liquid cash to be returned to you. But, the Federal Trade Commission actually has given us a list of 5 questions because there are so many issues with things like this. The FTC has come out and said, here's some questions you need to be asking before you get these or as you're getting it to the person you're getting it from. So one of them is like, what happens with that money that I've prepaid? What are you guys doing with it? Is it sitting in a bank
whose
account?
pocket is it going into? Right.
Yes, exactly. Right. So that's one of the questions you should be asking. The next one is what happens to the interest or the income, whatever it is that comes off these prepaid plans. Where is it going? Is it being held in trust somewhere? Or is it just going right back into the business? Who is getting that? The next one is, are you protected if it goes out of business? What happens at that point? So there's that question. Another one is, can you cancel the contract and get a full refund if you change your mind? Because people move. We both live in Missouri right now. What happens if, we got a prepaid contract here and we moved to Florida or wherever it is? How does that work? And the last one is, and that is the last question actually, is what happens if you move away from home or if you pass away whenever you're away from home? Can you transfer the plan? Is there additional cost for transferring the plan? Is there a penalty? So those are all kind of questions you want to think about during that.
Yeah, it makes me think, we continue to say it, and that is, consult with a financial advisor, consult with someone, an estate plan, or planner, and say, what is the best course of action? Help me gather this info on these 5 questions, and then maybe you make that decision. And that's yours to make, no doubt. And whether it is, it's personal, as long as you're informed. And I think that's the key with really anything. When I go back to these buying an airline ticket, they make you select yes or no before you can even purchase because they really want you to buy it. Because I wonder how many people actually click on more info. I bet it's such a small percentage that want to go into the details, but I've done it before. And I mean, you believe in that, and there are differences, but in my mind, insurance, if I have to cancel, I get my money back. No, it actually has to be not an act of God, a medical emergency. And in that event, then there's like deductibles and maximums. And it's like, what a waste of my money.
Right.
It may, in that latest news article I just mentioned with wanting to be medevaced, I mean, you think you're safe and sound because it sounds great, but it's not. It is always the devil's in the details. And I think the more, take your time and ask questions, but I guess then that leads us to the point is, so, okay, Kevin, I'm going to take your advice and maybe I don't choose it, but what's my alternative?
Sure. Yeah. I think the alternative is, go ahead, take that money, take that $7,000 or $5,000 or whatever it may be, and invest it, open up a small brokerage account, and you can invest it yourself or with a financial advisor and do it that way, or just take it and put it in, a bank account. I know that's not the best option, especially from a financial sense, but it is a good option in the sense that that money's not going to go anywhere. It's in your name, it's in the bank account. You have access to it whenever you need it, or whenever your loved ones may need it. And I think that's really the best option, is maybe just set aside a bank account for yourself and just do it that way. If you've got a financial advisor, I don't think there's anything wrong with opening up a small account with them and saying, hey, this is for my last expenses. Make it TOD or POD to a loved one and let them know what it's for. And that's another great option. So, and I don't want to come across like there's no place for prepaid funeral plans. There absolutely is. And we utilize them and during our estate planning all the time. You can use them during Medicaid spend down periods and things like that. They do have uses. It's just got to be a little bit careful and go in with your eyes open as you're using these.
Yeah, and that was my question, was I don't want to beat up, like I said, we don't want to beat up prepaid funeral plans, because it is more about, the message here is investigate and be informed, and then get, someone's opinion to make sure it's the right, use of your money. And like you said, it could be a great estate planning tool for the Medicaid spend down, and that may be the best thing to do. But again, you can be enticed like anything. Oh, I want to get that. That sounds really good. And have the best of intentions, but the worst of results because you just didn't read the details. And so I think that's really the important part here. So yeah, I want everyone that's watching to know that, not to suggest that I or you think that prepaid funerals are all bad. They're not. The point is just buyer beware in everything. Wherever you go buy a car, whether you go get an airplane ticket, read the details on that insurance that I never buy just because I've read it. I don't find use for me, but someone may, and it may be okay for them. So good point. It's actually, I think, a really interesting topic, because it's a little bit off of what we normally talk about, because it's kind of the unexpected part of estate planning. So it's great stuff. So thanks for filling everyone in on estate planning pitfalls for prepaid funerals.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
As always, every Friday, 1:00 Central, just a tidbit of information, something like this. But you want to find out more information, go to TuckerAllen.com and be filled with stuff like that. You can actually schedule an appointment if you want more information with Kevin or some of the other attorneys at TuckerAllen. You can make an appointment right from the website at TuckerAllen.com. You don't even need to pick up the phone, but if you're one that likes to have that human interaction, you can pick up the phone as well and get the information at TuckerAllen.com. So continue to tune in every Friday for information just like this. Otherwise, schedule a consultation, or you can just peruse the website. It's filled with information, including Elder Talk, a great radio program and radio show that has more useful information as well that you can listen to right directly from the website. So until next Friday, have a great weekend. See you then.